like that. Woo!
What's good, everybody? Welcome to the Pull-Up Show. I'm your host, Mr. BJ Matthews, a.k.a. B Jizzle. Before we get started, follow us on the YouTube page, the Pull-Up Basketball Podcast. Like, share, subscribe. All of our YouTube videos. Hit that like button. Y'all coming in here. Hit the share, subscribe. Hit that CASHAPP, $ BJ Matthews, $ BJ Matthews. If you guys would like to donate to this great podcast for all this great content, make sure you guys hit that donation button for the CASHAPP. And like I said, before you enter this house, make sure you guys wipe y'all feet, like, share, and subscribe. Let's get it popping. All right, so this is going to be a pre-recorded video. It's not going to be an actual live. I got 2 videos. We got a lot of content to cover today, so I only had time to really do one live video, which I'm saving later in a few hours for all my Clipper Nation fan people. They had a big move yesterday that took place. I did not get a chance to talk about because I was at the job at the Intuit Dome. But we're going to talk about that today. But we got to talk about these crazy Game 7s that happened and transpired yesterday. Some great basketball, some great endings. And we got to talk about it, man. So you got 2 teams advancing and 2 teams going home by what we saw yesterday. Let's start first with the Eastern Conference. Let's start with the Indiana Pacers and the New York Knicks. So the Pacers will be advancing to the Eastern Conference Finals facing the Boston Celtics, right, on Tuesday, I believe, at TD Garden in Boston. All right, as y'all come in here, make sure y'all smash that like button. The Pacers will be going to the Eastern Conference Finals to face the New York Knicks. I'm not so sure when the Pacers last got to the Eastern Conference Finals, but they will be returning this year. Now, there's a couple things to keep in aspect. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go ahead and talk a little bit about what happened with the game, some of the statistics that I saw, and certain things that I caught in my eye, and then I'm gonna kind of get my little soliloquy of what I thought about the series and what I think about the Pacers and the Knicks, from here on out. So let's go. So if we talk about the Pacers right now, if you go into basically individual stats, you had 6 guys in double figures, with TJ McConnell coming off that bench playing 24 minutes, having 12 points. He's been a very big integral piece to their team throughout this series. Very fast, very tough, gritty little guard. I think he's about 6 feet, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere around there. Tough guy on the court. The Pacers, of course, not really a defensive team. They rely on their offense under Rick Carlisle, who's their head coach. Great offensive coach. We've seen him with the Dallas Mavericks in the past. He's always had great offensive teams, and that's what the Pacers are, an offensive team. So they got a lot of guys on their team that can score the ball. Pascal Siakam had 20 points, led them early on. Of course, with OG Anunoby being hampered yesterday, played only 5 minutes. We saw Pascal Siakam took advantage of that, right? You had that. You had Nembhard had 20 points. Nesmith, who's their other guard, had 20 points. So 3 guys had 19 points. You had Miles Turner with 17 and Tyrese Halliburton with 26. So all 5 of the guys was flirting around the 20-point mark, right? And their 3-point shot, I think they shot about 81% from the field. I think in the first quarter, something crazy like that. They were shooting the ball just crazy. I think they stopped around 60-some% at halftime. But, them getting off to that hot shooting start made them get off to that 20-point lead, I believe, in the first half. The Knicks tried everything in their power to get back into the game, but unfortunately, due to the injuries, it was too much for them to handle. But the Pacers, aside from that, they're a great offensive team. They're going to put the ball in the basket. They're going to run. They're going to shoot threes. They're going to move the ball. They're going to backdoor. They're going to back cut. And then with the addition of Pascal Siakam, you have a guy, just an extra piece that, can put the ball in the basket. 6'9", 6'10", athletic, can, score with the best of them. Very, very great game by him all around. And then if you go over to the Knicks right now, as you guys can see, you had 4 guys in double figures. You had Alec Burke come off the bench, had 26 points, was the second leading scorer yesterday. You had Dante DiVincenzo with 39 points, a crazy game by him. He had 9 threes. That's right there. 9 times 3 is 27. That's 27 points off a 3-point shooting off Dante DiVincenzo. He came out there and did what he could to keep them offensively afloat. But as y'all know, DiVincenzo's not really an offensive player. He can have, spurts of him, getting some nice dunks and scoring and shooting. But he's more on that team for basically energy, athleticism, and defense. being a 6'3" guard. You got Josh Hart, who was hampered 37 minutes, had 10 points. Isaiah Hartenstein. Isaiah Hartenstein had 17 points and nine. And was this? He didn't. Seven was he had. See, make sure I got this right. He didn't have 0 points, but he had 8 rebounds. Um, just a lot of what I'm saying, things that happened throughout the game for the Knicks. OG Anunoby scored his first 2 baskets, um, but as you guys saw, if y'all watched the game, he was basically running as if he was just trying not to get hurt. Tom Thibodeau did a smart move by taking him out the game because they didn't want to further injure his hamstring, which we're going to talk about in a minute. All these injuries that happened with the Knicks, but OG didn't get much time, and then you got Jalen Brunson, who had another injury to his hand, 17 points, finished with 29 minutes, got hurt in the third quarter. Just an unfortunate situation. You got so many injuries for the Knicks that happened yesterday. Was something that that just continuously piled up, and I just think they never prevail. You got the injury to Julius Randle, OG Anunoby, Josh Hart was injured. You never forget Josh Hart had that abdominal injury in game 6, and he played through it in game 7, right? And that's not to mention Mitchell Robinson and Bogdanovich. All their guys got hurt. This is the first time I've seen in a while where you got the whole starting 5 injured and hampered. As y'all come here and smash that like button, we're talking about the crazy game 7s that happened yesterday. But like I said, you don't really see those amount of injuries that take place at that amount of time throughout the game. You got 5 starters, your whole 5 starting 5, basically outside of Brunson, and he got hurt yesterday and couldn't return. I don't think people understand that, right? And the Knicks still pushed the Pacers to 7 games. So I want to kind of give the Knicks, first of all, a round of applause. I want to give them some props. Like, basically, they did everything they could. They fought through every adversity situation you could have, thought of. Any other team would have probably folded. And the Knicks, dealing with those injuries, man, if they had not been injured, as my personal opinion, they would have beat the Pacers probably. Because basically you have a situation where the Knicks had, all the defense, they had the energy, they had the toughness, they have the grit, they have everything on that team for them to be a problem. It's just the fact that this is a game where you have to be healthy. You have to be a little bit lucky. And the Pacers were luckier than the Knicks. They were pretty much healthy. Right? And that's what I just hate about this playoffs, man. There's been so many injuries that's been going on, throughout the, not just with the Knicks, but other teams. Of course, us, the Clippers, we missing our best player, Kawhi Leonard. You had the Bucks with, Giannis Antetokounmpo didn't play a single game, and I think Damian Lillard missed 4 games of that first year series against the Pacers. You got Jimmy Butler in the Miami Heat. You just got so many guys being out, not just injured, being out of games where they can't play. And it just takes away from the competitive edge of, the game, in my personal opinion. So there's some talks with the Knicks right now in the future. What's going to happen to some of their players? Like I said, they have a deep team. There's some positive that comes out of this because the Knicks, as y'all can see, that's giving them confidence that they can, hold the fort down when their big guns are not playing, right? But the Knicks are obviously going to be making some moves this offseason with all the contracts that are up, all the contracts that they got to, upkeep. They're in a very tough position because now you got all these guys that played well in the playoffs. They're going to be getting paid by the Knicks or somebody else. So there's going to be possibly some moves that happen this offseason. This could be possibly one of them, right? Julius Randle. Julius Randle has been with the Knicks since, 2021, if I'm not mistaken? Since 21, I think he's been with the Knicks. He's been talked about as possibly getting moved over the last couple of seasons. He doesn't really fit with the Knicks, or he doesn't come big in the playoffs. This is another year where Julius Randle has not been able to either come up big or been able to play at all. So you put now, you look at it like, okay, well, they got all these other pieces on the team. They've just picked up OG Anunoby. Do you let Julius Randle go and pay OG? Because as y'all can see, they can compete with anybody. The Knicks they're gonna have a very, very bright future in the near future. So do you just basically let Julius Randle go, and then you go with Mitchell Robinson, OG Anunoby, and you know what I'm saying, Josh Hart and Bogdanovich, if he comes back, he got as a shooter, because the Knicks do need to make sure they keep their offense. You know, their space in it. Like, they have a good, deep team. And I think they should let Julius Randle go, because now you have a situation where you got defense all over the place, and you have a strong power forward and OG Anunoby to be able to guard on the perimeter and in the post. Sorry, y'all, about that. But like I said with the Knicks, man, they got a lot to play with this offseason. I'm not gonna go as far as to say that you know, they got, something to really hold their head down with. They got a lot to play with this offseason. Um, contracts and stuff like that. But one of the things they got to worry about is all these injuries. Like I said, I've never seen a team get injured one after another like I seen with the Knicks. I mean, you talk about, from Josh Hart's abdominal strain to OG Anunoby's hamstring. Those are fatigue injuries, in my personal opinion. Those are injuries where you're being overused or being overworked. Jalen Brunson's injury with his hand when he swiped Tyrese Halliburton, I don't think that was really something that was dealing with, any type of, fatigue. I just think that was a freak accident. But Tom Thibodeau has been a person known for running his teams to the ground. They've been always tough teams he's coached. The Bulls, the Timberwolves, when they had Jimmy Butler and D Rose and them cats, and they tried to only got rid of them because he thought that those guys were kind of, young minded and not as strong minded. He goes to the Knicks and builds this team. When y'all see them coming back from these leagues and them playing hard after their guys going down, that's a testament to Tom Thibodeau. Like I said before, you are what your coach is. If your coach is a tough coach, your team's going to be a tough team. If your coach is a dumb coach, your team's going to be a dumb team. If your coach is a smart coach, your team's going to be a smart team. It's just how it is. And that's what y'all see with the Knicks. So they got a lot to, you know, look at in this summer. But I do think there's going to be some changes this offseason. But let's go to the Pacers. Look, man, the Pacers are a team, in my personal opinion, that no one really saw to be in this position this part of the season. And like I said, a lot of this has to do with injuries. That's why, even with the Pacers, I'm only giving them so much of credit, because they benefited from the same thing that other team out west has benefited from, and that's the Mavericks, and that's injuries. Now, it's not their fault, but my thing is, you can only expect somebody to give somebody so much credit when they're facing wounded, injured teams. And I'm not talking about players who are just broke. I'm talking about their star players. I mean, they did what they needed to do, and they still win 7 games. Like, this series, still could have went either way with all them injuries the Knicks had. It was clear to see who was the more superior team. But I'll leave that to be. But as far as the Pacers, they're going to be tested the next round. Like I said, they're an offensive team, and they don't really have much defense. So now you face the Boston Celtics with Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Derek White, Drew Holiday, Kristaps Porzingis is supposed to come back in that series. You're going to be having your hands full a little bit, right? So we'll see what happens. I only think the only advantage I think the Pacers really have is their coach. I think Rick Carlisle is a better coach than Joe Mazzulla. I think he's more experienced, of course. But as far as the players are, the players on Boston are more superior. But we'll see what happens in that series. But like I said, the Knicks and Pacers was a very, very fun series. I liked Game 5 especially in Madison Square Garden. I know the Knicks fans are disappointed they didn't get a chance to advance, but you know, next year they're gonna be a problem next year for sure. But let's jump over to that series out west between the Timberwolves and the Denver Nuggets. All right, let's jump over to the west of the Timberwolves and Denver Nuggets. Now, first off, let me start off with this. Game sevens are like the Super Bowl of football. You're talking about a single game in a single venue that determines all the marbles, right? But what I love about basketball is not a one and done, because basketball, you could actually have a bad game and come back with a vengeance and make up for it. Football, you can't do that. If you have a bad game, that's pretty much it. It's in the playoffs. Now, the reason why people don't, there's not really series is when it comes to football, because it's too taxing on the body. I mean, if you look at the regular season football, and not to get off track, you only get 17 games for a season. Basketball, you get 82. So basketball benefits, in my opinion, more than football off of a lot of different factors. The salary, you get more money in basketball, bigger contracts. You don't have to play outside in the cold. If you're traveling and stuff, basketball you get a chance to play in the arena. I mean, it's just a whole different. It's just more perks when it comes to basketball. But I'll leave that alone. But as like I said, with the Nuggets and Timberwolves, this was a legacy game for two players that y'all see on the screen, Nikola Jokic and Anthony Edwards. Let's look at what both teams did. Let's go first with the Denver Nuggets. The Nuggets last night, as you look at the scores, you got two guys that really really showed up, and that was their two best players, Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray. Both have 34, 35 apiece. When you look across the board, you see guys like Michael Porter Jr., who did not shoot the ball well, 3 for 12, 1 for 6 from the 3-point line. Got some good looks, but he did get rebounds. He had 9 rebounds. You got Aaron Gordon, 42 minutes, 2 for 5 from the field, only 4 points and 4 rebounds. I don't know what he was doing. I think mostly it had something to do with more of Minnesota, what they did. And you got Casey Caldwell Pope, who's been streaky, 2 for 7 from the field, 1 for 4 from the 3-point line, had 5 points. So they didn't get much production out for their other role players, and they didn't get no production off the bench with Christian Brown leading them with 5 points, right? So I'm going to talk a little bit about Denver's side. I'm going to move on to the Minnesota Timberwolves real quick. You got 5 guys who are all in double figures in the starting 5. You got, Rudy Gobert, 13 points. Mike Conley with 10. So you're looking at 5 guys in double figures with Towns, Conley, Edwards, Gobert, McDaniels. All 5 of the dudes spread the points around. Got production in different parts of the game, rebounding, assisting. You got Gobert, Towns, Conley, Edwards, all got 8 rebounds plus, right? And you got Jay McDaniels with 6, and you got Naj Reid came off the bench with 11 points, and he had 4 rebounds. He had some key plays in the fourth quarter in the stretch. So I want to talk a little bit about what happened. So this was a very highly anticipated Game 7. You got a lot of animosity, a lot of, stuff built up during the series as it was going on. Y'all remember after games 1 and 2, you had a lot of people say the Timberwolves are going to win the series. This is off of their basic, dominance in those two first games. A lot of people are, very, very shocked how Denver looked. And then a lot of people had that series, being done. And then you go to games 3 and 4. The Denver Nuggets show why they are defending champions and why they have, the MVP Nikola Jokic. So they're back in the series. So they win games 3-4 and then go back home for game 5. Jokic has a 40-point game performance. They go up to a 3-2 lead, right? So those 3 games, 3, 4, and 5, solidified a lot of people, you know, that they're going to start going to Denver, back to Denver again. And, they had the upper hand in the series. Then Minnesota in game 6 beats the Nuggets by 45 points. And then when the Timberwolves beat the Nuggets by 45 points, now they set us up for a game 7, right? Ant-Man has been, was chirping a lot with Jamal Murray. And we saw even yesterday with Ant-Man, Nikola Jokic, during the, end of the game, Jaden McDaniels had like a steal, or he had a wide open alley-oop self dunk. And it was kind of like showboating. And Nikola Jokic went to Anthony Edwards like, "Hey, what the hell you doing? Tell your teammate to calm down." And Anthony Edwards just basically said, "Man, there's time on the on the clock." But man, just look, this series was one of the most entertaining series. There's no big injuries, no real, what I'm saying, you know, situations where it was basically, good fun for the most part. But good, healthy competition, man. This was a series I enjoyed. I like just seeing good basketball with everybody healthy. I know that's a stretch asking, at least for this, especially for this day and age. But I just like to see guys on the court, man. So when you look at the Timberwolves and the Nuggets, man, look, when it comes to Nikola Jokic, obviously the season is ended for the Denver Nuggets. It's hard for the teams to repeat, and I don't think people understand that. When you come into a new season, there hasn't been a team to repeat since the Warriors, man, and that's a dynasty. The Spurs never even repeated, with Tim Duncan and David Robinson, Tony Parker manager. No, they never even repeated, right? The Miami Heat repeated with LeBron James and Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh, but that was even a stretch. So to go back to back to win a championship is hard. It's hard as hell. Y'all can see that with the Clippers right now. Everything has to pretty much go right. Guys have to be healthy. What I'm saying, you have the right matchups, coming at the right times, your best players, things of that nature. It ain't easy winning no damn championship. And it's almost near impossible winning a back to back. And then three-peating is definitely like that's like 2 lottery picks or lottery cards, right? But with Denver, in my personal opinion, there's a few things that changed from last year to this. Obviously, their bench, as y'all can see right there, you had five points amongst their bench for the entire game. Them losing Bruce Brown and Jeff Green last year really hurt them, because if you face a team like the Minnesota Timberwolves, you have Naz Reid, who's the sixth man of the year. Now you gotta look at it like, well, they're gonna have to, compensate for what they lost. And Reggie Jackson and Justin Holiday are just not enough to offset Naz Reid, right? So I think that was the big difference from last year. They losing their bench. Um, Also, you had, even though you had no injuries with guys being out, Jamal Murray with the calf. I don't know if people was remember he's been playing that since the Lakers series. Um, but their 3-point shooting, they can be streaky at times. Jamal Murray can be streaky. KCB can be streaky. Michael Porter Jr. can be streaky. And then when you combine that with the Minnesota Timberwolves defense, I'm gonna give credit to in a minute. They're gonna have nights like this: 3 for 12, 2 for 7, 2 for 5. Bad shooting nights: 1 for 6 from the three for Michael Porter Jr., 1 for 4 for KCP. Even with Jokic, 2 for 10, he was defended very well yesterday on the court as well. But there's just a lot of things with Denver that just changed that they're going to have to fix and address, which I think they will address in the offseason. That's going to be, first off, that bench. Second of all, getting a chance to become the hunter instead of being the hunted, right? Jamal talked about that. Michael Malone talked about that they're going to have to get that same fire back that they had, last year, because teams have gotten better. They're going to have to retool and regroup. But, I mean, Denver has no doubt in my mind they're going to come back with Avengers next year. Nikola Jokic being the MVP, um, to me, as far as his legacy, I just think again, Nikola Jokic is one of the top 10 greatest centers of all time. I don't take nothing from him. As a matter of fact, I'm getting a new level of respect for Nikola Jokic. I just think that he was just a guy that just benefited off his teammates, which I still think to a degree. But he also has shown me that he will take over a game. That game 5, he took over. His leadership on the court, how he was defending. I mean, he basically still was, an MVP player type player. This playoff go around. So all credit to him. Now, as far as the Timberwolves go, they're going to be facing the Dallas Mavericks. I personally believe that the Timberwolves have a better chance of beating Dallas than Denver. And it's for the exact reason I just stated. Number one, they have a better bench. Number two, they have more young athletes on their team. And I think, like I said, it goes back to matchups. When you talk about a team like Denver, who has a couple guys outside of Aaron Gordon and Michael Porter Jr., who are very, very athletic, and you compare that to Jaden McDaniels, um, Rudy Gobert, Nas Reed, Karl Anthony Towns, all those guys are, I'm saying, big guys. They're tall, they're athletic. Kyle Anderson, who's off the bench, he's 6', 9". They got a lot of length on that team, more so than even Denver. They have a better bench than Denver. Even Anthony Edwards is a guy who can, play above the rim and, be athletic and all that stuff. But like I said, when it comes to matchups, that's what it is about basketball. Um, Minnesota has everything. They have everything on that team. They've been having everything on that team as far as a personnel standpoint for the last 2 seasons. They've had the defense, they've had the scoring, they have the length, they have athleticism, they have everything on that team. The only 2 things they were missing really was really leadership and a true point guard. So Mike Conley showed me yesterday why he's so important to this team, because he's the calmness of the team. He's the person that, in my personal opinion, replaced Patrick Beverley on the offensive side of the ball. Mike Conley's a very, very good player. Even at 36 years old, he was, he's rated as one of the more underrated point guards in the league. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, you add that with Anthony Edwards, a guy like Mike Conley. Y'all see Anthony Edwards, his leadership has picked up. He's talking to his teammates as if he's, been in the league for 8 to 10 years. And this goes back to what I said about Karl Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert. Karl Anthony Towns been in the league for, I think, 9 seasons now. 8, 9 seasons, something like that. And he hasn't been able to get out the first round in them 9 seasons. This is the first time he's been out the first round with this guy who's been in the league for 3 years. Oh, I'm sorry. Has it been? No, 4 years. This is Anthony Edwards' 4th year. Karl Anthony Towns, he was very vital in yesterday's game as well. Defending, he did a great job on Jokic, as well as he was a guy kind of in the 3rd quarter who kind of kept the Timberwolves afloat. He was able to score the basketball at will yesterday in the 3rd quarter. He had 23 points, 8 for 14 from the field. Did not shoot the 3 ball very well, but he had 12 rebounds. You could say that Karl Anthony Towns is the best player yesterday, because Anthony Edwards did not play well. I mean, he played average. He had 16 points, and he shot 6 for 24 from the field, 2 for 10 from the 3. That goes to show how good Denver's defensive scheming was on Anthony Edwards. Every time you catch the ball, he would see 2 bodies. But this is what goes to show you that Anthony Edwards has a ways to go to be Kobe and Jordan, and being that ilk. Because Jordan and Kobe is not letting no double team stop them from getting that ball in that basket. They're not allowing that to take them out the game. But because Minnesota is so well put together, they have so much talent, you can depend on the Karl Anthony Towns, you can depend on the Mike Conley offensively, and you can depend on the Jaden McDaniels defensively, and Nas Reed offensively as well. So Ant-Man has pretty much everything he needs on this team. And as you go into this next series, I think personally this was a better matchup, because now you got to look at it like they're younger, they're hungry, and they're looking for their championship. I think Denver, as hungry as they say they were, I just think again, it's only natural when you start looking at like, okay, well, we won a championship the year before. Um, it's an exhausting, 82 game season. Them overplaying their guys, their starting five. I just think they were physically, mentally, emotionally drained. I think they need to, take a break. So they'll come back more rejuvenated next year. But we're gonna have a matchup between Luka and Anthony Edwards, and we're gonna have a matchup between Tyrese Halliburton and Jason Tatum. We're gonna be talking about their series, those series, those games throughout the week. Of course, I know people are gonna be locked in to hear what I have to say about that, but that's gonna be the case. And also, like I said, I gotta we gotta talk about the Clippers, them losing their assistant coach and Daniel Craig. You know what I'm saying? All my, Clipper fan base, make sure y'all come out and, what I'm saying, come on that live in a few hours because, like I said, that's going to be something that we really need to talk about. But until next time, respect, we say pull up a seat, pull up a chair, pull up. Peace. Out of here like swimwear.